What is going on, everybody? Dan with Gear Focus here, and welcome back to another video. I feel like it's been a really long time since I've seen you guys last. I spend a lot of time online looking up different pieces of gear and researching how people have their rigs set up. And I'm a member of a bunch of Blackmagic user groups. And in those groups, there's always a ton of questions about how people are setting up their rigs and what they're using and that kind of thing. So today I wanted to give you guys a rundown of my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Rig. When I bought this camera, I knew that it was going to be used in a bunch of different situations, from studio work to client work to run and gun and documentary type filmmaking. So I knew my system needed to be flexible, and my goal was to make my system as usable in all of those situations with minimal amounts of changes. So the first part of setting up and rigging this camera out, of course, is the cage. And as I've mentioned before on this channel, we are huge fans of the tilted cages. In my personal opinion, I feel like they're just made better and the form factors fit a lot better for me. Not anything against the other manufacturers like Small Rig or anything like that. I just have a personal preference for the tilted cages. Now, the cage that I got is the cage kit with the top handle and the SSD mount, which brings me to the next piece of gear that I use, and that is the Samsung T5 SSD hard drives. I absolutely love these drives. I use them for literally everything, and what's great about using an SSD drive on a camera like this is I can take the footage directly off of the camera, plug the drive into my computer, and run the project directly off of that drive. The way that I have things set up is I have a bunch of different T5 drives, and every project gets their own T5 drive until the project is completed. Now, with the top handle, I have a couple different accessories mounted to that top handle. The first one that you'll notice, and one that I get probably the most questions on, is this blind spot power junkie. This is how I power the camera when it's not sitting on the tripod in the studio. What's great about this little thing is it just takes an NPF battery, and I use the 970 NPF batteries, and these last probably an hour and a half to 2 hours on this setup. The way that this works is you have the plate that the battery goes onto, and then that plugs into a dummy battery that runs into the battery compartment of the camera. Another great thing about the blind spot is there are USB ports on the unit as well, so you can power other things, which I'll get to in a little bit. Now, also mounted on the top handle is my Atomos Shinobi monitor. By no stretch of the imagination is this the best monitor or the most feature-packed monitor out there. However, when I bought it, it was in my price range, it fit all of the needs that I needed, and it looks great. One of the biggest things about this monitor is it has a 1000 nit screen, so when I use this outside, I can still see everything that I need to. Also, because this is an Atomos monitor, it has a ton of features packed into it, like focus assist tools as well as exposure tools. Now, the way that I have the monitor mounted to the cage is with a 1/4-20 mount from Small Rig. And what's great about this mount is all it takes is one twist of this knob, and then I can rotate the monitor around to use it in the studio environment. And the last thing I have mounted on the actual camera itself is the Nucleus Nano follow focus system. What I really like about this system is it's wireless and battery powered, so that when the camera is mounted behind where you guys are sitting right now with the EOS R, I can wirelessly control the focus on the lenses with this knob, because this knob just pops right off like that, and then I can control wirelessly. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I wanted this system to be flexible. I knew I was going to be going back and forth between a handheld environment as well as a studio environment. So one of the big things that I had to think about was how I was going to do that. And the way that I chose to do that was by integrating a plate system into my whole setup. So I use the Manfrotto plates for pretty much everything. My tripod has one, my gimbals have one, and pretty much everything that I use uses the same plate system. So really all I have to do is take it off of one piece of stabilizing gear like a tripod and move it to another one like the gimbal, and then I'm ready to go. Now, one of the only differences that I need to make between both my handheld setup and my studio setup is my audio. When I'm running around handheld, I usually use the microphone that you guys are listening to right now, which is the Rode VideoMic Pro. But when I'm in the studio, I like to use this little adapter, which is an XLR female adapter on one side and then the mini XLR on the other side, and then I plug it right into the side of the camera. And because this camera is a cinema camera, it does allow me to output 48-volt phantom power, so I can use my studio condenser microphones as well as my shotgun microphones. So like I mentioned before, I do have all of the links to the pieces of gear that I'm using down in that description down below, so if you want to check those out, feel free to click those links. Now I know there are a ton of different accessories for these cameras, so if you guys have any other pieces of gear that you are using for your Blackmagic cameras, I would love to hear about it. I always love seeing how people have their rigs set up. So let me know down in the comments down below what you guys are using for your Blackmagic rigs. And while you're down there, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, as it really does help us out here on the channel. That kind of stuff really does make a difference for us. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the video today. Thank you for sticking around to the end, and as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay creative. Peace.
Thank you.